We'll jump in and get started shortly. So Michelle, go ahead. Or I'll just introduce myself first. So I am Genevieve. I am the co-founder of Know My World. We are a global education organization that focuses on social, emotional, and cultural learning. So I co-founded Impactful Teachers with Michelle, and we're really grateful for you to be here today.
Good evening. I'm in New York. Like Genevieve said, my name is Michelle Collis, and I am the founder of Ignite for Impact, which is also a global organization that focuses on raising compassionate leaders with the youth. And I have co-founded Impactful Teachers Facebook group with Genevieve to help educators and admin and homeschoolers and counselors to better incorporate SEL and compassionate leadership in the classes. And so we have the amazing Lakshmi. She is in Florida. So it's evening in her world too. She is an Indian American. She is, there's a long list of accolades for this woman. She is unbelievable. And I would definitely, when you have a few minutes, check her out. She's in a lot of places on the internet, but she is a world traveler. She is corporate America. She's a mother of two. And after spending a lot of time in the corporate world and just everywhere, I can't even imagine all the different places. I hope you have a list somewhere of all the places that you've been. Before she realized that she needed to help the youth understand how to be global citizens. And so she founded Travel Plus Them, which educates young people and mainly parents and educators on how to bring the world into your living room or into your classroom. So I'm going to turn it over to her and have her explain how she's going to run this workshop, this masterclass for everyone. So Lakshmi, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you for having me here. Welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So why don't we just get started? I'm going to share with you a class that I actually was able to be a part of a workshop in Florida for the Florida Early Education Association. So what you're going to see today is what I presented to teachers a few months ago, and I received really positive feedback. And so my ask for you is that all of you are able to walk away from here with just even one thing that you could do differently in your classrooms tomorrow. So I'll kick it off by asking, how many of you want each of your students to feel like they belong? Or your children, or in whatever capacity you have. Yes, and I knew all the hands would go up on that. So let me tell you the story about a young girl. That girl's actually me. I came to the United States when I was 4 years old from India. I was at that time the only person of color in the town that I lived in. My brother and I were unfortunately often made fun of because of the way we looked, the food that we ate, and a lot due to the color of our skin. I even tried to find whitening cream so that I can fit in with my classmates that all had blonde hair and blue eyes. And it was a very sad time. And what I realized is through my grandfather, he always said that you can learn about the world. And what you'll recognize is that even if around you, you don't see someone who looks like you or follows the same culture you do or religion or eats the same food, when you start learning about the world, you'll feel very connected to so many people around the world that are like you. And so through globes, atlas, and maps, that is when I started my desire in learning about the world and recognize that as we are many, we are one. So I have two daughters, as mentioned. They are now 6 and 5 years old. And while the world is a lot better when it comes to the aspect of diversity, and there's a lot more resources and awareness that parents and educators have, there's still an opportunity for us to make that change. It's not only about the diversity around us, it's about embracing and appreciating our differences and really focusing on that word differences. It's actually unique characteristics that make everyone beautiful. So Michelle, thanks for that introduction of all the places I've been and things I've done. To walk through my background, I went for undergrad and graduate studies at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. I've worked across a lot of different corporate companies. You can see some of the logos there of the different places I've worked. I volunteered across different organizations as well, focused on helping women and children in other countries and also helping the youth in the United States. And what I realized after working 20 years for all these companies and traveling around the world, not only for work, also with my family, I really wanted to be that change I wish to see in this world. I wanted to make an impact really for our youth. They are our future. And thus I founded Travel Plus Them, as Michelle had said, really focused on raising global citizens, both from experiencing the world, but more importantly, how can we bring the world into your homes and classrooms? So I assume I wanted to ask if you guys anyone want to raise your hand and speak up. Why did you choose to attend this session today? What inspired you to be here today? If anyone wants to speak up, that would be great.
Or feel free to mention anything in the chat. We can answer some things in the chat as well.
Okay.
Well, okay, I can say that, well, I see Elsa also here with us, and we are analyzing and checking the program, the teaching program for students and all the subjects and the activities that are done in our prepa, our high school. And we are, our goal is to have activities in which we are developing this awareness or diversity and including everybody. And we were invited by Carlos Recordon, who is our leader in these activities. And that's why we are here. We're trying to learn as much as we can so we can also transmit this to our students and our colleagues too.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so we're going to do a few things today. So first, we're going to learn about the what and the why. So we're going to walk through some statistical data and just information on global education, the differences between diversity, inclusivity, and belonging, and how all of this aligns to the world and core values that we teach our children. The next one is really focused on, now how can we apply all of this? It's great in theory, and I think all of us are here because we understand the power of what inclusivity means, but how do we actually bring it to life in the classrooms? So we're going to talk about many different ways and resources that we have to help you do that. And then finally, at the end, it's really about you. I would love to learn more from you on how you're feeling after this session, some of your experiences, and if the most important part, I think time will be tight, but it's to learn about at least one action that you'll take after this session, because that's the most important thing, is that you can bring something back into your classrooms and schools. And I know that as a parent, I don't know if we often say this enough to the educators out there. Thank you. You are such an integral role in raising our children. You are teaching the future. And so I'm here today in wanting to collaborate with you in helping the world make a better place starting tomorrow. So thank you again for all you do. Sometimes we don't appreciate it as much, but just know that you are the integral role you play in the lives of our children. So let's get started then. All right, so these words, I think you hear them often, you read about them. Diversity, inclusivity, and belonging. What do they all mean? So diversity is a fact. It is the demographic, it is the population, it is how people are unique and are different. Inclusion is the behavior that we demonstrate in any environment. How do we ensure that every individual feels included in the environment? And then belonging is what people feel. So does that individual feel like they belong? So what's fueling it is a desire to have a sense of purpose at work and a sense of community. People need to feel like they are a part of something, and not specifically because they have to change to fit in. It's because they can be who they are and be welcomed in any environment. So diversity exists in various dimensions and various settings. So I'm going to walk through society, home, and then ultimately talk about the classrooms. So there's a lot of different resources, as you may be familiar with, related to this. So when we look at our society, I mean, in any society, there's definitely differences in cultural diversity, socioeconomic standards. And the key thing is diversity is here to stay. It's not a word that just exists. It's the reality of our environment, and it's here to stay. The interesting thing, depending on where someone lives and or the environments that they're in, there may not always be that diversity in their particular environment. But that doesn't mean that they can't learn about how to be an inclusive citizen in the world. And when we could talk about the home, we're as parents, everyone has their viewpoints. And so a lot of the times your students are entering the classroom carrying an assortment of beliefs and things that they have heard or seen in their household. So this could include, unfortunately, things related to racial and cultural prejudices, things in pop culture that they see on social media. So there's always this belief system that comes in when children come into your classrooms. But you as an educator have that power. You're able to bring a very objective view of the world and not have your own perspectives portrayed on something, but really taking the educational lens of it. And you play an integral role in combating some of the prejudices that exist when students come into your classrooms. So this is an integral part of the future, working, teaching for diversity and teaching for inclusion to create that sense of belonging. So I am going to share a video with you from my daughter, who's 5 years old. This is part of our Travel Plus Them, one of the programs we offer. So she's going to walk through why it's important to learn about the world.
Why is it important to learn about the world? You learn about different people, cultures, and world history. You learn to be curious, to respect and love others. You learn to speak in different languages. You learn to always be a buddy and not a bully. When you learn about the world, you become a global citizen. We started Travel Plus Them to help you experience the world and become a global citizen from home. While we are many, we are one. Why is it?
So that is my daughter, and I'm sharing that because that's the child, an innocent human being that's here and really a sponge for knowledge and looks upon educators as those who provide them that knowledge and those perspectives. So any child can be that child that sees learning about the world as an opportunity and to really be a buddy and not a bully. I think that's the main point of children at that age. So let's talk about some other things. Global citizenship. So this is a word that you may be hearing about and reading about. There is a travel component to it, but it's so beyond travel. It's really focused on an individual's understanding of their place in the wider world, how they can be kind to others and appreciate not only the people of the world, but also the nature that exists in the world. It's also about encouraging young minds to be giving, to give back to the community, to lend a helping hand, to listen and learn. So it's really a framework of taking diversity education to a broader global perspective. So we talked about, as we all know, travel is an integrate component in children shaping how they normalize the experience. But the important thing, it's less about travel and it's about how you educate the children about different parts of the world. And some of the things that, at least in the curriculum in the United States, there's not that much world education at an elementary age. And when you think about children, right, their formative years are really before age 10, in that how they become and the desires and the interests that they have after that. So it's really about setting the foundation for children in learning about the world and different cultures, starting that as a young age. And there's no age too young to start this foundation. And it varies over the course of time. But even when a child eats food that's of a different country or culture, in sharing with that child where that food comes from, what is it, how does it tie to the culture, versus just eating it. So there's just very simple things that it's teachers and parents can do to bring that education into a young child. And this eventually makes them, it normalizes the diversity, and it inevitably makes them more open and remove biases. So why take the global approach? Because there's so many different ways when you think about diversity and inclusivity, and it's beyond race, but there's a lot of different ways to take it. So the work that my company has done is taking the global approach. And why is that? Well, 60% of the United States population does not have a passport. So that means that they unfortunately haven't left the United States. In the United States, amongst the population of children age 10 and under, that's over 50 million and growing. So it plays about a 25% population in the country, and again, continuing to grow. And if majority of the people do not travel outside, in specifically looking at the United States or the other countries you are from, where are they gaining their global education from? So even if traveling is considered a privilege, a global education should not be, and that can come both from the homes and from school. So again, teaching children about the world aligns to core life values such as respect, empathy, and curiosity. And it really starts from curiosity. A curious mind is eager to learn, and thus able to respect and empathize with others who are different than them. So I wanted to ask you, what does inclusivity mean to you? What does a global education mean to you? If you have any, I see some feedback from Sandra. Yes, I think that you're mentioning the percentage of passports. Yes, only about 40% of the United States population has a passport. I think that's what you referred to. 60% does not. Yes, yes. So I would love to hear from you. What does a global education mean to you? If you want to put it in the chat, or if you wanted to say anything.
I'm going to jump in because we don't travel. We travel around the United States, but not outside of the country. But I'm very big into food from around the world. So I love the part that you talk about incorporating food. And I think I know in the United States, we have lots of options for different restaurants, but a lot of them, they don't really have true ethnic food. It's been very Americanized. So anytime that we can bring in actual recipes from another country, it's amazing. With Ignite for Impact, in our Ignite for Impact group, I had some of my students post their favorite meals, and we were able to make the meals. Like I made something from one of my students from Algeria, and it was the actual recipe. So I think, incorporating food for kids especially really brings that, to life. Like this is what someone in this country, is eating. And I think it makes it more real for them. So I love the food aspect of that.
And, we live in a world where, 20 years ago, we had to find that restaurant or find someone who knows someone. Now it's called YouTube. I mean, we literally can go on YouTube or Google and really have access to so many different pieces of information and experiences to bring to the classroom. So such as recipes, right? If you're interested in learning about Japan, you can look up recipes that you could make at home, or look up certain Japanese arts and crafts that you can do, like such as origami. And you could do that in the classrooms as well, and an opportunity to introduce the child to Japan. So we just have so much information out there now to bring the world into the homes that did not exist decades ago. So we're going to jump into the next section. Let's get into the how. So what I'm going to do here is there's going to be 9 different ways that you can bring the world into your classrooms. They touch on different categories. So what I'm going to do is walk through the learning experience, and then what you're going to receive after this class is a resource guide, and it has links to the respective websites that have a free, whether it's a learning guide for you and or your students that you can download. So it's all free, and I will send you the link after this so you have access to it. So we're going to walk through these 3 categories. So we're going to focus on country-specific learning, how you can introduce and teach your class about different countries. Then we're going to talk about cultures, religion, and holidays, and that type of learning. And then we'll focus more broadly on inclusion and belonging. Okay, so we're first going to walk through travel the world from your classrooms. I know it's maybe not be the same as getting on a plane, but kids truly enjoy these types of things. And I know we have different teachers who teach different ages on this call. When I designed this, I focused it more on elementary school students, but absolutely this can be customized for middle and high school students. It would just have to be, I guess, a lot more complex than the simplification of it, but it absolutely can be applied. So materials that you need are maps or globes. And I always found globes are a lot better just because they're multi-dimensional. Maps are 2-dimensional. So a globe just creates a more real concept. So here is really what we have here is a boarding pass worksheet. So it's actually for children to feel a part of something, especially that elementary age group. They need something tangible. So with that, they can write their own boarding pass. And we have that worksheet on the website, and that is really for a child to write where is it that they want to visit, information about the flight, what seat they're on the plane, but that gives an opportunity when you're introducing them to a particular country to actually have something tangible that they can walk away with. We too have a program on Travel Plus Them's website. It's called Around the World in 60 Minutes. Again, it is designed for that elementary age student, but it walks through 25 countries in an hour across the 7 continents. And just a little blip, it's like 1 minute, 2 minutes on each country, but what it does do is just create that curiosity. But again, you could do that just by introducing a boarding pass and let's say, where are we going to go today? And then start talking about the country. And again, it can open to so many opportunities. For example, you can do a culture week where you take 1 week and each week you learn about different countries, and maybe there's representation in your classrooms of those particular countries, but this is just an opportunity to not make it a once and done experience, but something consistent that you can do. And I always say learning about the world is endless. It's one of those things in life that truly never ends. The 1 minute you think you know a lot and then you're just learning more. So the learning about the world is absolutely endless. We also have a continent worksheet as well, again, designed more for that early elementary age student, but mapping the major continents and the oceans of the world. Okay, so animals. Now, this may be definitely more of that early elementary versus high school, but surprisingly enough, not everyone knows as much about animals as we would think. So we can use different animal figurines or stuffed animals, but it's really to map out, it's an opportunity for the younger age kids to know that certain animals only live in certain countries. For example, tigers only live in Asia. They do not live in Africa. Koalas are from Australia. But even for the older children, as they get older, every country has a national animal and or a national bird. So it's an opportunity, even at the more advanced stages, to introduce animals and mapping it back to the country. And you'd be surprised that, as eagle is part of a couple of different countries' national animal, they're all different kinds of eagles. So again, it kind of ties to maybe a science lesson or a lesson that you could do, but definitely as kids get older, there's still an opportunity to introduce animals around the world and tying it back to that country. And I think I found all kids seem to universally love animals. I think they also want some of these animals as pets in their homes, which is not possible. But I think kids just really connect to animals no matter what ages. You just find a lot of children like animals. So we have a global animal worksheet map on our website as well for you to download. And that's another opportunity for something you can have for the kids. So now let's talk about flags. Flags are really cool. They have a lot of colors, patterns, and symbols. And this is something that, you know, I've worked a lot with, like flag workbooks and things. So flags are an opportunity, again, to introduce a country. Kids can draw any flag that, you know, from looking at the world flags, a flag that they like, a flag they connected with, a flag that has stars. And it's, again, an opportunity for you to not only talk about that country, but go deeper into famous cities of that country and the meaning of these flags. So the red on the United States flag has a different meaning than the red does on, for example, on the Mexico flag. So again, an opportunity to really leverage the flags to introduce more about the specific country. I think we have a few, someone new just joined. Okay, welcome. And again, flags also are national symbols of that country. So it's an opportunity for those older students to go into a deeper history lesson on the flag and what it represents for that country. Okay, language immersion. So we have a couple of folks on the call, I believe, from Mexico today. So this is a great opportunity, and for all of us, in that I think Spanish and Hindi, the national language of my country, India, are the most spoken languages around the world outside of English. I think Spanish is actually more widely spoken because not everyone in India speaks Hindi. So we're talking, like, you know, upwards of close to what, 600-700 million people in the world speak Spanish. That's huge, and it's only growing over time. So it's, I think, English, Mandarin, and then Spanish and Hindi tied for third and fourth place. So an opportunity of language immersion. Children, especially at the young ages, learn languages quite fast. It is a lot harder the older we are to learn another language. It just is. Our brains, I don't know what happens, but our brains just cannot pick it up. And at least I can speak for the US system, languages are not introduced too much later. 4th, 5th, 6th grades, middle school. By then, it's very hard for that language to be ingrained in how we think. We still think in the language we first learned. So this is an opportunity, taking it simple and introducing other languages in your classroom. We have this hello one-pager, just how to say hello in different parts of the world. But it's an opportunity in whatever grades that you are teaching to teach simple things. Hello, goodbye, thank you. Pick a couple of languages to learn it in, counting 1 to 10 in a few languages. Again, an opportunity to not only learn that language in that country, but certain languages are spoken in many different countries, like Arabic, for example. But it's an opportunity for you to tie in country learning also into language learning. And just languages, as you know, research shows that learning a second, third, or multiple languages, it really boosts your problem solving, critical thinking skills, and your ability to multitask, because you're able to process information in multiple languages. And it's proven that bilingual children learn faster and easier, and that lives with them, you know, for their life as they grow older in the ability to process languages.
I'm just going to jump in here on this because I've got a high schooler that we are, because I work a lot with teenagers, but my high schooler is looking at colleges. And one thing that was really shocking to me was going to college, they would really like to see 4 or 5 years of a language. And in a lot of places, a lot of public schools in the US, it doesn't start until 8th grade. So you start taking a language in 7th or 8th grade, and I thought, oh, 2 years of a language, you're good to go. But they really want to see at least 4 or 5. If you can have four, even at max 5 years, that's a lot. And like you said, you start them early, then it's much easier to learn. So when they go into middle school and actually have a formulated language program, it's going to be much easier, and they'll be more motivated, I think. You know, so learning a language at a young age makes you more motivated than this rote memorization that you do for language in middle school.
Right.
Yeah.
And I saw some comments in the chat. I was just reading them. I didn't have a chance. So, you know, totally right. I think as educators, you can only do so much. You have this standard curriculum to follow, and it's a lot of work as it is. And then you're surrounded by test takings, state test taking, national test taking, grades. I mean, the system is set up in a way that doesn't provide a lot of time to do other things that you want to do and know how to do and can really make an impact on the students. And as I'm sharing all of these examples, I really hope there is something that you can walk away with that becomes easy to implement into some of your standard curriculum, because I know it's not always, not all of us are empowered to deviate, and you just sometimes can't. I get it. I mean, that's the way my corporate world was too. There's a system and you worked in it. So I just hope in hearing this, there are things you can take and infuse into other standard things that you do. And that's why I think when you're teaching math, for example, it would be really cool to teach numbers and counting in other languages. I mean, it's just a way to introduce other languages in a standard math lesson, maybe make it a little fun. So moving on to starting with the greeting week. So this is something that I helped the local public school and where I live in Miami do. And it was really a lot of fun for the kids, kindergarten up until age 5. I think the middle schoolers did it as well, but middle schoolers are, everything, it's really hard for them to say something is cool. So they seem to enjoy it, but they won't give too many compliments, but the younger kids did. And this is a way, just teaching more compassion as well. Some kids say hello to everybody. They see other kids don't. And it's just an opportunity for everyone just to say hello to everybody. You do not always have to know someone to be polite to them and say hello. It can go a long way. So this can be like a week-long activity, starting with hello, then a hello pledge, and something that child would do to make the classroom more of an inclusive place. Share a pencil, whatever they write. Heyday, they can, wear a name tag and greet as many friends. So they took a tally of how many people they said hello to that day, and they had to remember their name and write the name down of the person they met. So they didn't just say, I met 100 people, you actually had to write their name. And then another day you can have children bring something that means something to them. So we say diversity, but sometimes not everyone has roots to another country or feels that connection, especially in America. There could be kids that just say they're American, and that's fine. So it's really about bringing something that reminds you of home and your family. So it could be just an overall something to bring around belonging. And then the final thing is part of a community, right? Because we start off with, here's my name is Lakshmi. Here's how I'm going to make the world more inclusive, or my classroom more inclusive. I'm going to learn your name and I'm going to write it down. Here's something that represents me and my family, my culture, and I'm a part of this bigger community. And this is an opportunity to introduce generosity within the broader community. Global citizenship is a lot about learning about the world, but it's also just being a kind, compassionate individual that wants to give. Give anything, give something. And there's so many different ways to do that. And one of the partners that I've worked with is a company called Helpin', and they have a giving program through Amazon, Alexa, and Google Siri technology. And through my work with them, they've actually also customized a program in collaboration with educators and teachers. So on the resource guide, you'll see a link to their website. They want to work with you and collaborate with you on how you can bring generosity into your classrooms and have the children understand the power of giving, and how, giving anything matters. Doesn't have to be anything big, or there is no such thing as big or small. It's just the concept of giving. So we have that partnership, which you'll see on their website. Okay, so we're going to have a Q&A session quickly. I'm just trying to get through all of these. Diversifying your books. So this is a concept that we've been hearing these words in the last few years quite often. And it's something that everyone, you may not think about it, but it really is when you look at your bookshelf, whether it's in your home, in your classrooms. What kind of books do you typically have? What do the characters look like? Are they different shades? Are they different names and cultures? And what is do they have representation of people of color? And this could be, have you introduced fiction and non-fictional books? Have you introduced any books in other languages? So the concept here is really on how you can ensure that the books that the kids in the class have access to, or the kids are reading, how can you encourage them to read different books that have different types of characters? I'm just giving you examples. So my name, Lakshmi, was mispronounced most of my life, and I allowed that. And it's something that I definitely didn't want my daughters to do. Their names are a little easier than mine, but still mispronunciations can happen to anyone. It happens to me sometimes if a name is unrecognizable to me. And so we started to bring in books that had not only the characters look different, but even had like very different names that may be as common, but that really helped, you know, talking about where that name's from and what it means. So overall, as you guys all know, representation matters. And kids, while they need to see, you know, depending on who they are, they want to see and read books of characters that look like them, they should always also be exposed to books and characters that are very different than them, that represent something different. That normalizes, again, that there are a lot of different people around the world and everyone is unique in their own way. And as I always say, like a sprinkle of knowledge opens a world of curiosity, especially in the younger age and even middle school age children. When they hear or learn something new, they want more because they want to be like experts at it. By middle school, they want to be like, they want to know everything and they want to be the smartest kid. So anything, never undermine the power of what you're exposing your kids to. Just a little sprinkle can open up a world of curiosity. So never think, hey, the kids know this already. Even if like 25 kids in the class, 24 of them knew that, the one kid did not, and you helped them. So never feel that anything you have to share or say is already known. You are still teaching them every day. And for this, diversifying your books, I had collaborated with another company, Little Tots and Lola, that's based in New York, and they have a diverse, like, early education program, really working with educators on how to bring diversity into classrooms. So they have an anti-racist guide that they created for parents and educators that's also going to be downloadable for you on their respective website, and you will have access to that in the resource guide. Okay, colors of my beauty, embracing self. So this is an opportunity for your child in the classroom to do some sort of project that represents them, whether it's a collage of pictures or magazines that they cut out or pictures they drew. And again, as you get into older elementary and middle school ages or even high school stages, asking them to write about themselves. We don't do that as often. It's always a book report. Read this book, write a report. You have to do this term paper. You have to do it's. There could be classes that have a journal, but that becomes something private. But even writing something that represents themselves and sharing that with a class. It's an opportunity for you to learn more about your students, for your students to feel comfortable sharing about themselves, and an opportunity for our students to learn more about each other. I think that the personal lens of sharing sometimes minimizes as older the children get in the classroom setting, because there's all these other term papers that they have to write. So what we have is a Colors of My Beauty project worksheet on our website. And when my daughter had this done in her classroom, it's very interesting, and I don't even think the teacher thought about it, but she handed the children all, if you can see down here, this like beige paper, like to represent their arms and their face. And my daughter, she's like, that's not my color, I'm brown. And you know, in kindergarten, that's very innocent. That's who she sees in the mirror, and she's proud of it. And she's not beige, like that color just she didn't feel it represented her. So I actually took brown construction paper and we finished the project. And I don't even think, again, the teacher just gave everyone the same shade of paper with good intention, I'm sure, but there were children in the classroom that didn't connect with that piece of paper. So sometimes it's asking, like, letting children and students represent how they see themselves versus, you know, everyone gets the same equal piece of paper, because it definitely, my daughter and a few others changed the paper color. And I think that's awesome, and I'm proud of them as kindergartners, feeling like they can represent themselves and who they are. And finally, apples of appreciation. So the last one was about embracing self and sharing self with others. This exercise is about appreciating others. So apples of appreciation is actually designed by Michelle on this call. It's a part of her company, and really explaining how we are like apples, right? All apples, they're all fruit, they're all yummy, but they come in different shapes and sizes and tastes. There's some different seasons. Some grow in some parts of the world have more green apples, some have more red apples. So it was a concept on how we are all apples, and how we can find ways that we are alike and ways that we are unique. So again, really bonding commonalities and finding commonalities, but also appreciating uniqueness, and then building from that, and then showing appreciation to someone else. So for example, having a wall in your classroom with apples or even circles, and having students write a note to somebody in their class that they appreciate. Again, it's nice to be recognized. When individuals receive recognition, they appreciate it, but it goes a long way for your students to recognize each other. This builds curiosity in them to learn more. It demonstrates appreciation, and it doesn't have to be a once and done activity. I mean, it's something that you could do monthly and weekly in your classrooms to continue the dialogue amongst your students. Okay, so that was a lot. We're at the last 5-10 minutes here. So I would love if you guys can write it in the chat. One word. How do you feel now? And please don't put tired as one of those words. Challenged. Okay, I want to dig deeper on that. Okay. Inspired. Okay, wonderful. I want to learn more about challenged. So since there are two words here, Elsa, if you'd like to share, I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Challenged.
Hello, I'm like Alma and Jackie, a teacher from Mexico. And I do feel challenged because many of the resources we use, many of the resources we review are resources that have been used many times successfully in other countries. So for us, it is challenging to adapt those materials and those experiences to our reality. All of us, Alma, Jackie, and I, we live in different cities, in different regions of the country. And our country, like many other countries, depending on the region, the makeup of the population can be very different. In our case, it is challenging, for example, to introduce the different indigenous groups that live in our regions, because they're not the same groups in every region of the country, and they are not connected to the educational system in the same way. So that can be challenging. The region where I live is a region where we do have a certain level of immigrants, right? We have a very strong Chinese community, a very old Japanese community, a more recent Korean community, but also we have communities from fellow Latin American countries where maybe the color of our skin is the same, but our cultural experiences are very different. So we have a very big and vibrant Cuban community, a smaller Brazilian and Argentinian and from Central American communities. And all of that challenges us, right? How do we introduce that into our classroom? How do we reach into our community? And as I said a few moments ago, some of these migrant communities are recent migrant communities. So that's another challenge. Most of us speak in our system, speak either Spanish or English. most of us do not speak an indigenous language. So that is also challenging. Right. So that's what I meant about challenge. I think I could probably go on for an hour and find more and more reasons and items to be challenged about.
No, thank you for sharing. I have a thought for you, but I see some other words here: inspired, connected, deep in thought, hopeful. You know, we can't teach enough of this. Excited, thoughtful. So thanks for sharing all that. What I was going to say to you, we will always all have a list of challenges. We check one off, there's another one that comes. And one day at a time. Like, you know, I think we dream big, and that's good. That's what we should do and inspire our kids to do, but we can only do one thing at a time. And so I would just say to you, whatever today or anything else that you see is one opportunity more than yesterday. It's never undermine just one little thing you're able to focus on. You're never going to get all the indigenous languages and cultures. There's so many, and they're growing as time continues. So maybe 2 years ago was 500, now it's 1,000. I mean, you're just never going to get everything, but even getting one is better than what it was yesterday. So I just think that's how we have to look at these opportunities when it comes to diversity, inclusion, equity, global education. It's one step at a time is a step forward than where you were yesterday.
I'm going to jump in too, Elsa. I think the goal in all of this, and what Genevieve and I our purpose is like Lakshmi said, we're not trying to, you're not going to be able to teach everything, but what we want to do is be able to open a door. And when you open that door, it causes curiosity. Again, we heard a lot over this past hour, invoking curiosity in our kids so that they want to ask questions. And being the foodie that I am, my oldest is very into trying new things. My two younger ones, not so much, but I don't have to present everything, all different kinds of foods for him to try. But I have instilled in him the curiosity to try new foods. So when he's out on his own, he's like, well, I've never tried this before. Let me try this. Same with this, with culture, with diversity, with the global, the global citizenship, with global understanding is, you only do a couple of countries, let's say, but that gets the kids, let's get their motors running, right? And so when they leave your classroom, whether it's for the school year, for the day, graduate, they're going to have that built in to say, well, we learned about this country and this country and this, and that was really interesting. I'm now curious because I want to see this country, or I heard about this country. Right. I'm now interested because I already have gotten a taste of what other countries are kind of like. I'm now curious to see about other countries too. So it's part of learning.
Yeah, and Michelle, I was going to add in, you and I talked about food, considering this is a classroom where there may not be the options of sharing food. I have something that's universally everybody loves is music. Mm-hmm. And the power of YouTube and other things, there's an opportunity to teach about a country, a culture, a language, just through music videos and music. So whether it's the song that they know in Spanish or English in another language, or new music, or even some of these artists that they listen to, what country they're from. So I think music is just a great and easy way to introduce for all ages, from little 5-year-olds all the way up to high schoolers. Everybody loves music and they all like different styles, but you can do it through, even if you're not teaching music, different genres of music can be introduced, where the genre of music's from, or this song, that this is what they're saying, this is the language it's in. So I think that might be a more easier way to introduce countries versus food in the classroom, because I don't know if you're allowed to bring in food, but music is universal and it's loved by all at all ages.
And movies as well. We do on our Facebook group. Genevieve and I have posted some things about culture, what movies, what books. I know Encanto is big right now, and in schools, it's interesting for the kids to learn about the different regions and to talk about that movie in particular, and the colors and the music and the traditions they were learning about. And I think Disney in particular, over the years has done a great job at really bringing in diversity. I know they're starting a little bit more with the African-American community, having and even more about like how females are portrayed in movies. They're trying to do a little bit more of how females are not the Cinderella that we grew up with. They look different, they act different.
Yes.
So
Well,
yeah,
all I knew was Cinderella growing up, and I'm like, I definitely do not look like her.
Cinderella and
now,
Barbie.
but you
Cinderella
know
and
what?
Barbie.
Now, decades later, I don't have to ever want to look like her, because there's a lot of people that look like me that are also represented. So, and everyone's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I think we're redefining beauty and the norm, and it's, we're normalizing all these things, right? So it's not the traditional princess that comes with a particular look. There's all different types of princesses, and they're warriors too. They're just not sitting there looking pretty. So to that point on Disney, just the interest of, go ahead,
Jump in. Sorry, I just wanted to say one thing. And I know as an educator, as Lakshmi said earlier, there's so many, especially if you're a standards-based school, like there's so much content that you have to rush through and you have to like get to, and it's very challenging, Elsa, as you are pointing out. But what I just want to bring to all of us who are here and just educators in general is the concept of awareness and intention. And the fact that you are here joining us for this masterclass, or the fact that you're curious and you're delving into wanting to understand these concepts of equity, diversity, and inclusion more, shows that in and of itself that you are more aware of this being an issue and something that needs to be included in our education. And if you are making intentional decisions to try your best to introduce these concepts to your classroom, then you're doing a great job, and you're meeting that challenge. And whether it's a big step or a baby step, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that you are mindfully and intentionally trying to bring this to your classroom and to your students. That in and of itself is really amazing. So I just want to applaud all of us who are here trying to diversify our classrooms and include all of our students.
Thanks.
Absolutely, making that effort. But I just wanted to say quick before I turn it over to Lakshmi to wrap it up, is I think we're finding too is 30, 40 years ago, the world looked so different. We didn't have families moving to other parts of the country, but other parts of the world. I grew up with parents who, I was born and raised in the same town. Most of my friends, most of my family members. But now you're finding a lot of transplants, whether it's transplanting across the United States or around the world. And so you do have more of a diverse, because these companies are more global than they used to be, 50 years ago, 40, even 30 years ago. Now you've got a lot of neighborhoods that, have the big companies. You've got, you have diversity in your classroom like you've never had before. And so, I think it's very important that any way that you can just introduce this in the classroom, especially like you said, a lot of this starts at a young age, so that when they're high school students, this is not something foreign to them.
Right. And to your point about companies, I've worked at those companies and they've always had training. Let's do diversity training, to people. Training is not going to address the core of how behavior should be changed, because it's became a once and done. Hey, we're going to have a day training and that was it. What did we do the rest of the 300 plus days that we're working there? So it's the behavior of how someone is that needs to be shifted, and that starts from childhood. So to me, what you guys are doing is the future. So there doesn't have to be a diversity training 50 years from now in some big company, because it's in the DNA of the workers in that company. So that's the aspiration, right? Is that it starts from the education years and leads into who someone becomes as an adult. And so I wanted to close with, these are just the companies that have been integral to providing their wisdom and also free resources that they've designed. Again, we'll send out the You'll get a resource guide that has links to all these websites. They've been designed specifically for you from a teacher's lens. So my company, Travel Plus Them, Little Lola and Tots has the anti-racist guide. Ignite for Impact has Apples of Appreciation, and Helpin has how to bring generosity into your classrooms. And a lot of the other resources that we talked about are all on Travel Plus Them's website. There's about 9 of them there. So you could just download them all, just need your email address to do that. And then finally, one of the things I wanted to close with, if you want to write it in the chat or you're welcome to speak up, is what is one action that you will take tomorrow? Well, maybe not tomorrow, but when the school day starts, because I believe it's a weekend for most of you. So what is one action that you'll take when you walk back into those classrooms? I hope there is one. If you want to share or write it in the chat. Let's see. Okay, game with the globe. Thanks, Sandra. And thanks for all your other feedback. I was reading a lot of what you said. Thank you for that.
And Alma starting with the same classroom, coming from
Yes,
different
I
parts of
saw
the state.
that. Say
Yeah.
different parts of the state. That's very cool. Yes, I'm from a smaller town and town. That's amazing. And not only is that education for all the kids, but it makes each child feel like they belong and they're represented. That's amazing. Okay, I like the idea about music. Wonderful.
I don't know if anyone else does morning meeting, but morning meetings are great ways, great times and opportunities to use these activities, some of these activities, especially like greeting each other in different languages, or counting, or listening to a song, or reading a book from a different language, or a different, a diverse type of book. So in elementary school, morning meetings are a great way to build community, but also introduce these important concepts.
Wonderful. So thanks for everyone. I saw some other short films being introduced into the class. That's great as well. Teaching with food recipes, good idea. Wonderful. Yes, great ideas. Very tangible and very fun. I mean, that's the intent of at least what I was sharing from a global approach. It's endless opportunities. It's definitely not a once and done. And there's just different things you can do where, again, you have your formal education process that you have to follow, all the tests that you have to minister, the grading periods and everything. So it's really about, this is not a separate subject. It's about how you can infuse global learnings into your classrooms in a way that seems organic and normal and brings that curiosity amongst your students. Wonderful. Are there any other? Oh, okay. Somebody's computer ran out of battery. No worries. Are there any other questions or information that you'd wanted to share? I think Alma's coming back.
So if you think of something after, Lakshmi is one of our experts in our Facebook group. For those of you that found this workshop, this masterclass through our Facebook group, you can definitely chime in and connect with her on that platform. If you are not already in our Facebook group, definitely get into it. If you can search impactful teachers, that will come up. I'm going to,
I had someone just join now, I think. I don't know if he
might be coming in and out.
No, someone new, I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
well, this has been recorded, and so if you're just joining, it's okay. You'll be able to watch the recording.
okay.
We'll send that out later. And also, I just want to ask at the end, after Michelle shares this part, if those who are willing to have a photo taken, please stay on at the very end so we can do a screenshot quickly. Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
So Lakshmi, this has been just absolutely amazing. Taking notes, trying to take it all in. We are going to have this later. We're going to be continuing this conversation, but where do we go from here? So Genevieve and I have created this Facebook group to really to join people, join educators and admin, counselors, homeschool leaders to start the process to get our students to be the ultimate compassionate leaders. And it starts with understanding culture. So what we have started doing in our group is this monthly schedule. And for those of you that have been in the group from the beginning, you'll start to see a trend. We have inspiring quotes every week, health and wellness for the teachers, not just for the students, lesson ideas, mini challenges. Lakshmi was our featured guest teacher this month for Culture Month, as well as expert videos, and then starting to do a celebration week. So at the end, kind of culminating everything that we've done with a masterclass that has to do with a theme. Again, this month obviously was culture, but getting into some fun things to kind of wrap that month up. But moving forward, we have a program that we would like to offer you called Global Impactors Mini Challenge. And the first one, game one, is focused on communication. And these are classroom games that we're going to be doing live with classrooms from all over the world, focusing on different soft skills, because culture is just one of the soft skills that we are teaching. And we started with that because it is the foundation. If you don't understand, if you're not diverse, if you don't understand about other cultures, it's going to be hard to learn some of those other soft skills like leadership and how to work as a team. If you don't agree with the people that are in your team because they're different than you, then it's going to be very difficult to be an effective teammate. So these games are 45 minutes to an hour. Again, multiple classes from around the world. We're going to start off with a 3-week game. It is on a game platform. It is not on Zoom. It's not on a website. It's not, you do it on your own. We run it, you join, and you lead your classroom with videos, worksheets, team building, and leadership. And this is just a picture of one of the platforms. There's lots of different scenes, but you're going to be in there with your classroom, walking around. This happens to be a forest scene. We have like a winter theme. There's a lot of different themes that the kids can see other kids from other classrooms from around the world. And this month for April rather, learning about communication. So every game is going to be focused on something different. So we will be sharing that more with you in the next coming weeks to invite you to join us in April for that. So that is all I have for my end. Genevieve, anything that you wanted to add as we wrap up?
Just quickly, so we are also running through Know My World, the Responsible Digital Citizens exchange program, and this is an amazing and perfect opportunity for students to connect with others around the world. It's a 6-week digital journaling program. Right now, we are currently working with 58 schools across 13 different countries. And it's a great way for your students to focus on reflective journaling and learning more about themselves, and then B, sharing that with a global partner, so kind of a digital pen pal. So if you're curious, we're running our first program now, but if you're interested in participating in our upcoming and next program, feel free to message us and let us know. So
I leave you with parting words. A better tomorrow starts with us today. And the words of Mahatma Gandhi, be the change you wish to see in this world.
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you
All right.
all for joining us.
Real quick.
Yeah.
A photo.
Yeah.
If you don't want your photo taken, you can close your camera. But thank you. Thank you. 1, 2, 3.
3.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
We appreciate your
Thank
time.
Thank you very much.
The link to the
Thank you,
group.
everyone. Thank you.
If you're not in the group, the link is in the chat, or you can just search up impactful teachers, and then there's a chalkboard when you come on.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.